Welcome to Lead Where You Live, Tucson Voices in Leadership. I'm Jamie Leon-Guerrero.
And I'm Raysun Frost. This podcast is all about real people leading with heart in our community.
We believe leadership isn't about titles, it's about action. And Tucson is full of people making a difference in big and small ways.
Join us as we chat with inspiring voices who are showing up, stepping up, and shaping Tucson's future.
Let's get into it.
Welcome, everyone, to Lead Where You Live. I am Raysun Frost, and I'm here with
Jamie Leon-Guerrero. I'm your co-host of Lead Where You Live. And today we're super excited to welcome my friend and mentor, just amazing Karyn Damschen. Karyn is a purpose-driven financial advisor and the founder of Damschen Financial Planning, where she helps clients, especially women, retire with clarity, confidence, and joy. Focusing on reducing taxes, increasing income, and preserving wealth, Karyn's personalized DAMM, D-A-M-M plan framework empowers clients to make confident, informed decisions about their future. A Tucson native and proud U of A Wildcat, Karyn is a passionate community advocate serving our community as a Girl Scout leader for 15 years and boards including Roots and Roads Community Hospice Foundation, Pima Council on Aging, and Greater Tucson Leadership, where she's a proud alum and former board chair. She also supports financial education for youth through programs like Life Beyond the Books. Karyn's passion project is an executive producer of the 2024 film, The Psychology of Retirement, which is amazing. And we'll talk about it today. I saw it. Reflects her deep belief that retirement success is about more than just numbers. It's about living well. When she's not making DAMM plans for her clients, you can find her hiking, kickboxing, and enjoying Tucson's vibrant art scene. Welcome, Karyn, to Lead Where You Live.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. Thanks, Jamie. Thanks, Raysun.
We are going to get started with finding out a little bit more about you and where your name comes from.
Where my name comes from. So I'm actually named after my paternal grandmother, which is really interesting because I look exactly like her. She was a Catherine and I am a Karen. So that was a derivative of her name. And then Damschen is a very, very old name. And we can trace that back to Viking times. So I'm a Viking village and plunder. No, not really.
And now I'm curious from the introduction that Jamie said about your DAMM name. Is that from Damschen? Like, is that
Yes. Yeah. So I think everybody needs a damn plan, right? And that, I mean, it is, you should have a damn plan for your whole life, right? But certainly for your finances. So that's where that comes from. And it stands for Discover, Analyze, Maximize, and Maintain. So it's kind of a proprietary framework that we've put in place to help put some structure around financial planning, life planning, future planning, dream planning, like all of those pieces that we bring into our clients' plans.
That's really cool. I love that connection.
These DAMM plan.
Yeah.
Everybody needs a damn plan. Yep.
Where do you live, Karyn, and what do you love most about that area?
So you mean like part of town I live in? So I actually live on the east side, which is bizarre. I never thought I would have ended up on the east side because I grew up in the northwest part of Tucson. So born and raised here. I love that east side. You go a little further east than where I am, and there's still beautiful Tucson desert. And while I say it's the east side, it still feels very central for Tucson anymore. So I love having access to being 20 minutes from the U of A or the TCC or, all those pieces, MoCA and art shows and events and things that I love to do. So it still feels fairly central for me.
Nice.
And now that you've told us a little bit about kind of where you grew up here in Tucson, what about something that we don't know about you?
I am such an open book. I think Jamie would tell people that. Like I wear my heart on my sleeve and I feel like I'm pretty open. Something that people wouldn't know about me. In a former life, I owned a catering company. So I did high-end custom catering and personal chefing, but I feel like I've been in Tucson my whole life, so I feel like a lot of people would know that. But something you may not know is when I cook, I can tell when something is done by how it smells. And it drives my daughter crazy. So I can walk into a kitchen and be like, that's got to come out of the oven or off the stove, or that is just about to burn. It happened just the other night with my daughter. She was making a grilled cheese, and I walked into the kitchen and I said, I think you want to turn that. And she's like, no, I just put it in there. And I'm like, I think you want to turn it. So she lifted it up, and she hate it when you're right.
Where people have like where they're because of nose, like do you have one of those special nose? I don't even know what it's called. Where, where it's like you can tell the tiniest little things and you could actually get like a job just to like get your nose to work to
Great. I would be totally, if somebody out there knows what that job is, I'm in.
It's more, I think, like you see them more in like the scent industry where, like, oh, these scents, but I feel like you could use that for like wine, right? The sommelier,
Right.
they smell
Yeah,
it. Like it's a hint of cardamom and grapes from Wilcock.
exactly. Exactly. These are 2023 grapes, clearly.
I didn't know that about you, about your chef past life. And I feel like really quickly or not, but like I want you to share with Raysun because she also I think I saw her do like a dance when I mentioned Girl Scouts. But I feel like your quick experience of that one time in Girl Scout camp that you had to feed all the campers for like 7 weeks by yourself.
One time at Girl Scout camp. So my experience with Girl Scouts is lifelong, but one summer, I was approached. So typically in the catering world, right, and in Tucson, summers are slow here. So I was approached and said, hey, would you like to come up and cook at the Girl Scout camp this summer? And I thought, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to take my kids. We're going to hang out up at Mount Lemon all summer. And that part of it was super awesome. But it was by far the most grueling thing I have ever done. So I was a caterer and a personal chef, but I had never worked in a restaurant. So I didn't come out of that world of, how many covers we're doing in a night kind of thing. So cranking out 100+ plates of food 3 times a day with a couple of teenagers that could work very, very limited hours. It was challenging, character building, right? A lot of blood, sweat, and tears went in that summer. I don't regret it. It was still a great experience. My daughter had an amazing time. She spent all summer like with different Girl Scout troops, and she got to do all the camps. Like, it was great. My son, I don't think he a Girl Scout camp wasn't the greatest place for my son, but he and I got to walk down road every week and go to the Boy Scout camp where we could do like their every week a big bonfire thing. Let me tell you, those boys can make fire. So it was cool. It was cool. We did not repeat the experience, but it was great.
I loved Thank you for sharing that because I just thought, wow, I feel like everyone probably ate really well.
yeah, rave reviews, right?
So I still have campers talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing. That kind of makes me go into our next question about like how leadership shows up for you, like in your personal, professional, and like just your Tucson community life.
So it's funny because I think, like a lot of leaders, I would not have necessarily identified myself as a leader, right? But growing up and as a young kid, I was the bossy one. I was, all those things that girls kind of get told, right? You're too much, you talk too much. So I think it started showing up at a very young age. And I think for me, leadership really comes out of one of my Gallup strengths, which is this ideation, right? And just my brain is forever solving problems that are real and that may not be real. And my kids and I have lots of talks about this. They come to me with something and I I've learned I have to kind of stop myself and say, is this something you want me to solve, or do you just need me to listen? Right? Because my brain is always trying to find a better way to do anything and everything, whether I'm driving through traffic or I'm, I don't know, organizing my pantry or whatever it might be. Like there has always got to be a better way to do this. So I think even in my past board experience, I know my future board experience, which I'm really excited about, will see this too, is, and I've been told by other board members and directors, et cetera, that I tend to ask questions that other people may not be thinking of. So, and I really just think it's my brain looking at every side of every problem all day long, which is kind of cool and also a really hard way to live. So,
Feel for you. I feel for you. Have very similar personality, and I'm
yep.
still learning how to stop, especially with the kids, and be like, "Oh wait, I'm not. They're old enough now. I'm not just jumping in and solving their problems for them." And so
Yeah.
that is hard, and to take that into a leadership position, like or where you're working with other people, I think that just the skill to be able to do that in and of itself is such a strong leadership skill to know when to jump in and take over and when to hold back and say, "Do you need my help?"
And so I think for me, leadership shows up in a way of just trying to serve. Like, how do I help? How do I how do I make your life better? How do I make this world better? How do I make this problem better? How do I make this form better? How do I, right? And I think I spent so much of my life trying to kind of fight against this tendency to want to improve things, right? Like, how dare you stay in
Yeah.
your lane, be quiet, right? Where it's really just probably been the last 6 or 8 years that I feel like I've really stepped into that and said, wait a minute. Like I'm bringing something to the table and it can drive people nuts. Right. Because then I'll be like, but what about this? But what about that? And at some point you just have to say, stop. Right. So, but
This
I
is
also,
super my people. This is why.
right? This is why we all get along so well. And I think what it really is that superpower that allows me to do this work that I get to do today, this incredibly important, impactful work in stewarding people's financial futures. Like the weight of that is tremendous, but being able to do it in a way that I am able to convey what their damn plan needs to be and then help walk them through that. And at the same time, they know they have somebody in their corner side by side with them that is able to flex as we need to flex, right? I think this year is a great example of that. So yeah, that I think that's how leadership shows up for me.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting here looking at your face, and I can't help but notice that you have a GTL, a little GTL symbol or a monument or something back. Is that a bookmark? I can't
It's
tell
a
what it is.
word.
No, it's my board plaque. Plaque 'em and pack 'em, right? That's what Medlar always says. So that's my GTL board plaque for service.
And it's perfect. I love its location because it ties right into our next question, which is what is the biggest takeaway from GTL and how has it impacted you or the Tucson community since you've graduated?
Oh man, GTL. So So I was first exposed to GTL back in probably 2000, maybe 2001. I had a client that I catered for on a very regular basis who was a lovely woman who said, "You love the community." I mean, we were just talking about Tucson. "You should do this thing." And I was like, "What?" I'd never heard of it, but sounded amazing. And at the time, cost was such a barrier for me. And I was like, I got two young kids at home. I'm running a business. I'm, doing all this stuff. So I didn't really explore GTL. And then when I finally had the opportunity to go through GTL, I'm the class of 2014. So my experience with GTL and realizing how many And it's funny because I was just talking to my son about this after the gala, the community impact awards, because what I wanted his takeaway to be was how many amazing people are in our community doing incredibly impactful work, right? And changing people's lives. And so for me, GTL was kind of that exposure. My kids used to always make fun of me. They'd be like, there's nowhere we can go that you don't know somebody, Mom. And it's true. Tucson is the biggest small town you'll ever find. But getting exposed to those people who have similar hearts to me, that was the first time I had met business leaders and really understood where they're coming from with a heart of service and really understanding how all those pieces fit together for our community and how much education affects the economics and vice versa, right? And so going through GTL and the time in my life I went through it was incredibly impactful. I mean, of course, all those things you hear, lifelong friendships, and it really changed the way I viewed things. But it's really been kind of that post GTL experience that kind of shows the proof of what it does. So after GTL, like so many people, I'm sitting there going, well, now what? Now what do I do? Right. And discovering boards I wanted to be involved with or community issues I wanted to have a voice in, and just feeling more confident that I could show up as authentically me and have an impact on our community. It was incredible. And I think really the more we can expose people to those types of ideas and situations and put them in rooms together where people are respected and valued and listened to, right? We don't all agree. I mean, we definitely don't all agree, but to kind of carry those core values was amazing.
You definitely did answer the question. And I have heard several times throughout this conversation that in a lot of ways, you owning your leadership is learning how to be authentically yourself and to accept your strengths and to use those strengths. And that GTL was a large part of that.
Huge part, huge part. GTL and then that post GTL, right? Of me stepping into the involvement, getting to know people on board, getting to know people in the community, and then later circling around and being on the board of GTL and really helping to shape GTL at a time that was truly transformative for GTL as well, right? A very new CEO, a kind of a transformation of the board in general, this expansion into much more inclusivity, both in the programs and on the board, and then really getting to see all of that in action. At the same time, bringing a youth leadership program in, which is my entire year through GTL, I kept saying, if I could have had this when I was 16, 17, 18, 19, even into my 20s, right? How that might have changed what I did earlier in my life. So I'm a huge advocate of the Tucson Youth Leadership Academy as well.
It was nice to hear you say that because I forget sometimes like you were part of that like strategic plan that like really helped make DTL better. Like it was great, but like, oh my gosh, there was this big plan you guys implemented and just like now I'm part of that. And like, I think even when Karyn was part of my interview and it was just, it's like, why should we pick you? And I'm like, well, GTL's kind of already setting me up for success. Whoever you pick truly is coming into this amazing organization. Like you truly can't hopefully mess it up because it's just, you're set up for success. So just pick me. It was pretty cool. So
You literally said that
I
in the
literally
interview.
said
Just
that,
pick me.
like, just pick me. And
I cannot
also,
help every time someone says that thinking of Shrek and Donkey.
pick me.
Pick me, pick me.
Yeah.
Karyn, you're so amazing. And like just reading your like bio and hearing like all the things that you do to like give back to the community, just like what you do for a living, right? Like I think it's so impactful. But do you have one thing specific maybe like on how you give back to the Tucson community, whether that's professionally or like through your time, talent, treasure, ties, like what's that special thing that you just like truly love doing that you know is going to impact our community?
I think, I don't think there is just one thing. I do time, talent, treasure when and where I can. I'm very excited about my next board endeavor, which starts in June. So it is official, so I can actually talk about it. Uh, so I'm going to be stepping on to the board for the Girl Scouts of Southern Arizona. And this is just such kind of a full circle moment for me in my life. So my daughter is a fourth generation Girl Scout. I grew up in Girl Scouts. My mother led. She grew up in Girl Scouts. Her mother led. So, and my grandmother was born in 1912, which is when Girl Scouts was founded. So the ability to serve this organization that has really helped to mold and shape me throughout various periods of my life. I will tell you, I've owned a business since I was 6 years old. So if anybody out there thinks that paying $6 for a box of cookies is too much, please understand that you are not buying a box of cookies. You are supporting the future of businesses and entrepreneurship and community engagement in these young women. And so I can remember going door to door by myself with my wagon of cookies, right? Which of course you can't go by yourself now, but you could back in the before times. So, and really all those things that Girl Scouts embodies and teaches, and the way that they support women and hold them up and help to create and foster that leadership in them. So I really think it's kind of a combination of all of those experiences. So I was a Girl Scout. I led Girl Scout troops for 15 years. I worked for our Girl Scout Council, where I had the deep honor of kind of turning around their retail program, which was so much fun to get to do. And then to now be able to come and sit on their board and really help guide the future of the organization. I'm so excited about that, because Girl Scouts, through the work that they do, touches every facet of our community, because they are building women to be leaders. And I am a passionate advocate for women. My financial practice is heavily focused on women. It is a safe space where there is no mansplaining. There is no, don't you worry your pretty little head about that, Missy. You don't need to think about that. Numbers are hard, right? And creating a space where I tell women there are no stupid questions. You just keep asking until you get it. Right. So I mean, obviously I am a woman, so that kind of flows through every part of what I do, even passport experiences with GTL or Roots and Roads or the Pima Council on Aging or Tucson Center for Balance, other places that I've had the pleasure of serving, really to be able to bring that voice of women and support and honor their skills and abilities too has just been incredibly rewarding for me.
Thank you for sharing that. It's obvious how deep your emotional ties are to the Girl Scouts and how powerfully you show up to support other women as well.
You're just amazing, Karyn.
I never think I do enough. So
your list sounds really long, like you're doing a lot, and we really appreciate you. And we're going to put you in a tough position to pick a question, and you get to pick one of three, and we're all three going to answer it.
Oh, love it. Okay. I think I'll answer the dream that I haven't, that I,
What is a dream that you've had that you haven't yet pursued, and what's holding you back?
so a dream I have that I have not yet pursued is probably to really take this work that I do and scale it in a way that I can have other amazing women doing it alongside me. So the financial industry skews heavily male. And I love men, no problem with it. But it's created a situation, I think, where women sometimes are afraid to speak up, to ask questions, to make sure that they're really understanding their finances. And at the end of the day, the money doesn't matter, right? Your money doesn't matter. What matters is whether your money can fund the lifestyle you want to live. So my dream of not just owning my business, but having offices all over where women can help other women and families. I say I'm focused on women and the men who love them, right? It's a type of client that I prefer to work with. So, and getting to that point where you can even think about scale or another office, right? There are places in the country I would love to be able to have an office. And I would say the thing that is holding me back the most is the struggle to find the talent I need to help me grow. And I know I'm not the only business owner struggling with this, right? But really struggling to find the right people in the right positions. And I know they're out there, just incredible people who are heart led and mission driven, where they're not just focused on what's my paycheck going to be, but it really is about the impact of the work. And I will tell you, I'm clearly terrible at hiring. So we're getting some help with that. But I think that has been the biggest hurdle. 6 years ago when I went out on my own, and then I started thinking about, well, how do I kind of make this, find other people who are really awesome and want to do this. And so we can kind of put these damn plans all over. I mean, everybody needs a damn plan, right? So that's been the biggest hurdle. And I welcome thoughts, suggestions, people into my world to help with this.
You're not that bad at hiring. You did hire me at GTL.
I did. I'm not I've hired some really great people in the past too, but it's a really, I don't know why finding talent right now feels so challenging.
We're going to be putting this out there. So if anyone's listening right now, watching this video, and you think that you would be a good fit, please reach out to Karyn.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Dream for you. Mine's not so big.
Yours.
My dream is like based on like all the adventures that I want to do before I can't. This body doesn't let me climb mountains and stuff like that. And a dream of mine I watched this movie several years ago, like gosh, almost 10 years ago. It was like when Chris was killed. It was called The Way. And it's about this man's journey after losing his son on the Camino de Santiago in Spain. And it's like this, if you do the whole like end to end walk, it used to be a pilgrimage from a long time ago. It takes like, I feel like if I'm not mistaken, like over a month, like if you're planning it right. And that is my dream. And I probably could do that even in my older age because it's a walk. I want to do it. That is one of my kind of pilgrimages and like big hikes that I want to do. But that's the one that I know I need to do, the Camino de Santiago. It kicks off my going to Spain bucket list item. My great 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 grandfather's Leon-Guerrero is from Spain. So like culturally, heritage wise, like just I want to go to Spain. But then while I'm there, I want to hike this or I want to walk this path. And the only thing that's the obstacle kind of holding me back, which you're a great person to have in the room, is like the finance is of it. Cause like that's a whole month of like, I'm not working remotely. So one, how am I going to get a boss to like let me take like 4 to 6 weeks to just like tra la la in Spain and still pay a mortgage and come home and still have my lights on? And it's just that has really been holding me back. So I know I can do it. I'm going to, but that's my dream that I haven't pursued yet. And maybe I should set like an end date. Like I have to do it before this day so I can like start doing the thing. So that's my dream.
It's so interesting you bring that up. So this is the third time. I often wonder what the universe is trying to say to me, right? This is the third time in as many weeks that somebody has talked about the Camino de Santiago. So I just spoke with someone earlier this week. She and her two sisters are doing it. They leave next Friday. She is 62. She has a sister who's 64 and a sister who's 66. And they're going to go do it. And I said, "Oh my God, it's a bucket list item. Would love to go do that." And she said, "Pack your bag and come with us." And literally, I thought,
Do it.
on hold, right? Like, I mean, that's too soon, but so anyway, so I love that for you. And I know you will get that done. What an incredible adventure.
Thank you.
Gosh, I guess I'm going to say that something one of the dreams that I have for my real estate business, I guess Jamie knows a little bit about this, but is that I really want to find a way. I believe that there could be a way to connect real estate transactions and fees with restorative practices with money to go back to the indigenous communities whose land the land is on. I've started pursuing that. And what's holding me back is really just a combination of just connections and also not just doing it on my own path, but being in a position to collaborate with indigenous communities. I've started building those connections, but it's a slow process. So really what's holding me back is just making sure I want to do it in a way that creates conversation and respectfulness. So that's a big dream of mine.
Cool. That's very cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Keep watching Raysun because that's going to happen soon too. She's like, that's happening for her.
It is. We're gonna get there. It's gonna get reached. At the very least, it's gonna open up conversations, which I think is so powerful, in building community and having conversations helps move things along. So we are going to need to move forward with our rapid fire part. And so this is where you are going to be asked just a rapid fire question, just immediate gut response.
Yeah.
And we're gonna alternate back and forth.
Yeah. You ready?
Yes.
Right or tight?
What's your go-to karaoke song?
I don't do karaoke. I'm terrible. I love to go to karaoke, but I don't actually sing karaoke.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Large family or small family?
My family is very, very small.
What is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
I should have thought this would be a rapid fire question. It is trust yourself.
Spicy or mild food?
Depends. So love spicy, but when you're in California, you do not order spicy 5. You do not do that. And it's so interesting because here they don't, in Tucson, I don't think I've ever been asked for a spicy level, but you go other places and they're like, what level of spice, right? And 1 to 10, I order 5 and like, I'm going to end up in the ER if I eat that.
What's a tool or gadget you can't live without?
My shark hair blow dryer thingy.
So direct or collaborative work style?
It's both. It depends on what I'm doing. There are times I have to be collaborative, and I really do see me as a collaborator with my clients. But there are also times that the buck's got to stop somewhere.
I just have to say, I love your answers. I'm really like diving with them because my spouse says that my favorite answer is yes and no.
You're right, right.
I love it.
And I say all the time, I'll say, well, it depends.
What's your favorite book genre?
So for pleasure, I read garbage, trash, chick lit, romance, garbage, not smut. I don't like the smut, but just, yeah. And then I read a lot of leadership, personal development.
Yeah. All right, last one. Arizona Sonoran Desert Museum or Pima Air and Space Museum?
See, that's just not fair.
Attention.
I get it. I'm feeling for you.
Born and raised here, right? So, Desert Museum, I've watched the Desert Museum become what it is today, right? When I think about trips out to the Desert Museum when I was little, it's a very different place today, right? So, my heart is there. I love that. It's one of my favorite places to go and just walk around, right? But also, my father was a fighter pilot here in Tucson. And so I grew up with the planes and I mean, we held this retirement party at the Pima Air and Space Museum, and not allowed to do that anymore in the way he did it. Like, it's such a really, really hard one. And also, they're on totally opposite sides of town. So I feel like that's not fair.
Do you have, this is the time we're going to move on to the last question, if you have any special projects or events that you would like to promote.
So I always have fabulous special projects or events. So I am screening. So the movie that I produced, which I'm very proud of, it's called The Psychology of Retirement. And it really, it came out of a conversation with a bunch of other financial advisors where we're trying to figure out how to help people understand that retirement isn't about how much you have in your 401k and this kind of help people get over this fear of going from those working years where we have this paycheck coming in to what we would call kind of those distribution years where now you're going to spend all this money you've saved. And I see so many people, especially now with everything that's going on in the world, just paralyzed with fear. Just this terror of, I'm never going to be able to retire. How do I spend what I saved? Right. And truly, so The Psychology of Retirement, the documentarian who's a part of it is Morgan Housel, best-selling author. He's an incredible human being. He's not a financial advisor, but he is a study of humans. He's a psychologist. And so he's really looking at how we consume, how we spend. And so he wrote this great book called The Psychology of Money. And it's a New York Times bestselling book. Like he's just this really cool guy. So the movie is helping people see potentially what some of those pitfalls in retirement may be. But it is not some skewed, terrifying, buy an annuity kind of movie. I know there are a bunch of those out there. Really is looking at how do we create a damn plan? How do we create that damn plan for your future? So even today, with all the uncertainty, you can retire. So we're screening the movie again on May 14th. We're not sure when this podcast is going to come out, so you might have missed that. But if you've missed it and you can't make the May 14th showing, we will be screening the movie again later this summer. Hopefully, my goal is to screen it at the Loft as soon as they're open for events again. They've been closed for their capital campaign. And then June 3rd and 4th, I'll be hosting retirement dinner events at Tavolino. So if somebody wanted to attend one of those, they can reach out to my office and we can get them on the list to be able to attend one of those. And those are educational events, again, about retirement.
Wonderful.
The movie is really well done. I've seen it. It's just really good. And it was like released in Hollywood. There was like a movie release party. Like it's legit.
Like it's a big, many, many millions of dollars went into this movie. So yeah.
Looking forward to seeing it.
Yay.
Well, that's the end.
Yeah, time to wrap it up.
Thank you so much for being with us. And we can't wait to see everything you do and to watch you lead where you live. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. It's been my pleasure to be here.
That's a wrap on today's episode of Lead Where You Live. We hope you're feeling inspired by our guest's story and the impact they're making right here in Tucson.
If you love this conversation, help us spread the word. Share this episode, subscribe on YouTube, and tag a local leader who should be featured next.
Because leadership starts with showing up, and we know Tucson is full of incredible people doing just that.
Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Lead Where You Live.